A fisherman named Walter Green pulls his boat alongside the dock at 6:47 a.m. The sun is barely up, the water is cold, quiet, and then he sees it. A body, face down, floating near the pilings. Walter calls the harbor patrol. They arrive 12 minutes later. 2 officers pull the body from the water. African-American male, age approximately 40, wearing expensive wool trousers and a white dress shirt, no jacket, no shoes, no wallet, no identification. But there's something unusual. His hands, they're covered in chalk dust, blue and white tailoring chalk, the kind tailors use to mark fabric, and pinned to his shirt, protected in a waterproof pouch, is a handwritten note on expensive stationery. It reads, "This man sold measurements for $500. In Harlem, loyalty is worth more than gold. Disloyalty is worth nothing." The officer reading the note looks at his partner. "Get the detective. This isn't a drowning. This is a message." The body is identified 6 hours later through fingerprints. His name is Samuel "Sammy Stitches" Berkowitz, age 41, owner of Berkowitz Fine Tailoring on Lenox Avenue between 132nd and 133rd Street. The Harlem precinct detective who catches the case is named Frank Colombo. He's been working Harlem for 9 years. He knows the streets, he knows the players, and when he reads the name Samuel Berkowitz, he knows exactly whose tailor this was. Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson. Detective Colombo checks the time of death. The medical examiner estimates Sammy died between 2 a.m. and 3:00 a.m. His body was found at 6:47 a.m. But here's what makes Colombo's blood run cold. The Harbor Patrol estimates the body had only been in the water for 3 to 4 hours based on water temperature, rigor mortis, and lack of significant bloating, which means Sammy Berkowitz was killed and dumped in the Hudson River sometime between 2:30 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. Colombo pulls Sammy's recent activity. His tailor shop closed at 8:00 p.m. the night before. Sammy was seen leaving at 8:15 p.m. He walked 3 blocks to Minton's Playhouse Jazz Club. He had 2 drinks. He left at 10:30 p.m. And then, sometime between 10:30 p.m. and 2:30 a.m., Sammy Berkowitz betrayed Bumpy Johnson, got paid $500, and ended up dead in the Hudson River. 4 hours. That's how long he lasted after the betrayal. This is Harlem. This is the price of disloyalty. This is the untold legend. Part 1. The tailor of Harlem, Samuel Berkowitz, wasn't born in Harlem. He was born in the Bronx in 1916. His father, Isaac Berkowitz, was a Jewish immigrant from Poland who arrived in New York in 1908 with nothing but a sewing kit and $12. Isaac opened a tiny tailor shop on the Lower East Side. He worked 16-hour days, 7 days a week. By 1920, he'd saved enough to move his family to a small apartment in the Bronx and expand his shop. Samuel learned tailoring from his father. By age 14, he could cut a suit pattern from memory. By 16, he could hand-stitch a buttonhole that looked like machine work. By 18, he was better than his father. In 1938, when Samuel was 22, Isaac died of a heart attack. Samuel inherited the shop. But he didn't want to stay on the Lower East Side. He wanted to go where the money was, where the hustlers, gangsters, and jazz musicians wore custom suits like armor. He wanted Harlem. In 1939, Samuel Berkowitz opened Berkowitz Fine Tailoring at 461 Lenox Avenue. A small storefront, clean windows, a hand-painted sign. Inside, bolts of the finest wool, silk linings from Italy, buttons from England. His first customer was a trumpet player named Dizzy Gillespie. Dizzy needed a suit for a recording session. Samuel made him a midnight blue wool suit with peak lapels and a double-breasted vest. Dizzy wore it on the cover of his next album. Orders flooded in. By 1942, Samuel was making suits for Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Cab Calloway. He was charging $75 to $150 per suit. In 1942, that was serious money. And then, In March 1943, Bumpy Johnson walked into his shop. Bumpy was 37 years old, just back from a 5-year stretch in Sing Sing. He was rebuilding his empire, and he needed a suit that said, "I'm back, I'm untouchable, I'm Harlem, I need 3 suits," Bumpy said. "Charcoal gray, navy blue, pinstripe, the best fabric you have. I want people to know I'm serious before I say a word." Samuel measured him. Inseam, outseam, chest, shoulders, sleeve length, neck. He took 37 measurements, wrote them down in a leather-bound notebook. 2 weeks, Samuel said. 1 week, Bumpy replied. Samuel worked day and night. He cut the patterns himself, stitched every seam by hand, pressed every crease with steam and precision. 1 week later, Bumpy returned. He tried on the charcoal gray suit. It fit like it was painted on. The shoulders sat perfectly, the trousers broke exactly once over his shoes, the jacket buttoned without pulling. Bumpy looked in the mirror, nodded. "What do I owe you?" $450. Bumpy pulled out a roll of cash, counted out 500. "Keep the change, and from now on, you're my tailor. Nobody else touches my suits." Samuel nodded. "Yes, Mr. Johnson. Call me Bumpy for the next 14 years." Samuel Berkowitz made every suit Bumpy Johnson wore. He made suits for Bumpy's weddings, funerals, business meetings, court appearances. He made suits for Bumpy's top men: Marcus Silk Henderson, Raymond Quick Porter, James Big Jimmy Crawford. By 1950, Bumpy Johnson's crew accounted for 40% of Samuel's business. He was making $1,200 a month just from Bumpy and his men. In return, Bumpy protected Samuel. When local gangs tried to extort him, Bumpy shut it down. When the Italian mob tried to force him to pay protection money, Bumpy sent a message: "This tailor is under my protection. Touch him, and I'll burn down every one of your social clubs." Nobody touched Samuel Berkowitz. He was family. But in August 1957, Samuel made a mistake that would cost him everything. Part 2. The Debt. By the summer of 1957, Samuel Berkowitz had a problem. His younger brother, David, lived in Brooklyn. David was a gambler, a bad one. David owed $18,000 to a Brooklyn bookmaker named Sal the Shiv Romano. Sal was connected to the Gambino family, and Sal wanted his money. On July 22, 1957, 2 of Sal's men showed up at Samuel's tailor shop. They didn't threaten him, they didn't break anything. They just delivered a message. "Your brother David owes Sal Romano 18 grand. Sal knows you're doing well. He knows you're Bumpy Johnson's tailor. He's giving you 30 days to pay David's debt. If you don't, David disappears. Then you disappear. Capisce?" Samuel's hands were shaking. "I don't have $18,000. "Then you better find it. You got 30 days. They left. Samuel closed the shop early, went home, sat in the dark. His wife Miriam asked what was wrong. He couldn't tell her. If he told her, she'd panic. If she panicked, she'd tell someone. If word got back to Bumpy that Samuel's family had mob problems, Bumpy might cut ties to avoid complications. Samuel was trapped. He thought about asking Bumpy for a loan, but $18,000 was a fortune, and asking Bumpy to bail out his gambling addict brother would make Samuel look weak, irresponsible, untrustworthy. So Samuel kept quiet, and the days ticked by. July 23rd, 29 days left. July 30th, 22 days left. August 5th, 16 days left. By August 10th, Samuel had sold his car, pawned his wife's jewelry, borrowed money from every friend he had. He scraped together $6,000. He still needed $12,000 more, and he only had 11 days left. Part 3. The offer, August 12, 1957. Berkowitz Fine Tailoring, 7:45 p.m. Samuel was locking up the shop when a man in a dark suit approached. White, Italian, mid-30s, slicked back hair. "Mr. Berkowitz, my name is Tony Lombardo. I work for people who might be able to help you with your problem." Samuel's heart sank. "I don't know what you're talking about." Tony smiled. "Your brother David owes Sal Romano 18 grand. You got 9 days left. We know you don't have the money. If you're here to threaten me, I'm here to offer you a solution. We'll pay off your brother. Debt, all 18,000, gone, like it never happened." Samuel stared. "For what? Information? What kind of information?" Tony pulled out a cigarette, lit it. "We know you're Bumpy Johnson's personal tailor. You've been making his suits for 14 years, which means you know things. His measurements, his schedule, where he goes, when he goes, who he meets." Samuel's throat went dry. "You want me to betray Bumpy. We want information. Specifically, we want to know Bumpy's exact height, weight, and body measurements. And we want to know his schedule for the next 2 weeks. Where he'll be, what he'll be wearing. That's it. Why do you need his measurements?" Tony took a drag. "That's not your concern. All you need to know is, you give us that information, we pay off your brother's debt in full plus $500 cash for you. Your family is safe. You go back to making suits. Nobody ever knows." Samuel's mind was racing. "If I do this, Bumpy will find out. He finds out everything." "Not if you're smart. We meet once. You give us the information, we pay you. You never see us again. Bumpy never knows. And if I say no?" Tony dropped his cigarette, crushed it under his shoe. "Then in 9 days your brother disappears. 3 days after that, you disappear. And your wife? She'll spend the rest of her life wondering what happened to you." Tony handed Samuel a business card with a phone number. "You got 24 hours. Call this number. We'll set up a meeting. Or don't call and deal with Sal Romano yourself." Tony walked away. Samuel stood there, holding the card, his hands shaking. Part 4, The Betrayal, August 13th, 1957, 11:00 p.m. Samuel Berkowitz sat in his apartment. His wife was asleep. His leather-bound measurement notebook was open on the table in front of him. 14 years of measurements, every suit he'd ever made for Bumpy Johnson. Height, 5 feet 10 inches. Weight, 178 pounds. Chest, 42 inches. Waist, 34 inches. Inseam, 31 inches. Neck, 16 inches. Shoulder width, 19 inches. Sleeve length, 34 inches. And below that, Bumpy's schedule for the next 2 weeks, based on suits Samuel was currently making for specific events. August 15th, meeting at the Teresa Hotel, 2:00 p.m., wearing navy blue suit. August 17th, dinner at Red Rooster, 8:00 p.m., wearing charcoal gray suit. August 19th, business meeting, location unknown, wearing pinstripe suit. Samuel stared at the notebook. This information was worth $18,000. It would save his brother's life. It would save his own life. But it would also betray the man who had protected him for 14 years. Samuel picked up the phone, dialed the number on Tony Lombardo's card. "Yeah," a voice answered. "This is Samuel Berkowitz, I'll do it." "Good, tomorrow night, 10:00 p.m. Parking garage on West 135th Street, 2nd level. Come alone, bring the information, we'll bring the money." The line went dead. August 14th, 1957, 10:00 p.m. Samuel arrived at the parking garage, 2nd level, nearly empty. One car, a black Lincoln Continental. Tony Lombardo leaned against it, smoking. "You got the information?" Tony asked. Samuel pulled a folded piece of paper from his coat. "Everything you asked for, measurements, schedule, it's all there." Tony unfolded the paper, read it, nodded. "Good." He reached into the car, pulled out a thick envelope. $18,000 for your brother's debt, $500 for you." Samuel took the envelope. His hands were shaking. Tony smiled. "Smart choice, Sammy. Go home, sleep well. You just saved your family." Samuel walked back to his car, got in, drove home. He didn't sleep, because at 10:47 p.m., 47 minutes after Samuel left the parking garage, Bumpy Johnson received a phone call. Part 5. Bumpy knows the call came from a man named Marcus "Silk" Henderson, Bumpy's top lieutenant, the man who ran Bumpy's intelligence network. "Boss, we got a problem. Sammy Stitches just met with Tony Lombardo in a parking garage on West 135th. Bumpy was silent for 3 seconds. "You sure? I watched it myself." Sammy handed Tony a piece of paper. Tony handed Sammy an envelope, cash, a lot of it. "You see what was on the paper?" "Too far away," but Tony read it and smiled. Bumpy exhaled. "Where's Sammy now?" "Home. 511 West 140th Street, apartment 4B. Pick him up quiet, no witnesses. Bring him to the warehouse on 12th Avenue. What about the wife? Leave her, she doesn't know anything." "And Sammy?" Bumpy's voice was ice. "He sold me out. I want to know what he gave them. Then I want him gone." August 14th, 1957, 11:52 p.m. Samuel Berkowitz was sitting at his kitchen table, counting the $500 Tony had given him when he heard a knock on the door. He opened it. 3 men, dark suits, fedoras. He recognized one, Marcus Henderson. "Sammy, Bumpy wants to see you." Samuel's blood ran cold. "Now? It's midnight. Now. Let me get my coat. You won't need it." They escorted him downstairs, put him in the back of a Cadillac, drove west, toward the river. Samuel knew. He knew where they were taking him. He knew what was going to happen. And he knew he had 4 hours left to live. Part 6. The Warehouse, August 15th, 1957. 12:30 a.m. The warehouse on 12th Avenue was dark, empty, cold. The only light came from a single bulb hanging from the ceiling. Bumpy Johnson sat in a wooden chair smoking a cigar. Samuel was brought in, hands tied behind his back, pushed into a chair facing Bumpy. Bumpy studied him for a long time, and he spoke. 14 years, Sammy. 14 years you made my suits. I trusted you. I protected you. I made sure nobody touched your shop. I sent you customers. I made you rich. Bumpy, please. And tonight you met with Tony Lombardo, a Gambino associate. You handed him a piece of paper. He handed you cash. What was on that paper, Sammy?" Samuel's voice cracked. "My brother, he owes money. They were going to kill him. They were going to kill me. I didn't have a choice." "What did you give them?" Samuel hesitated. Bumpy leaned forward. "What did you give them?" "Your measurements, your schedule, that's all. Just measurements and your schedule for the next 2 weeks. The room went silent. Bumpy sat back. "My measurements? You gave them my measurements." "I'm sorry, Bumpy, I didn't want to. They forced me. Do you know what they're going to do with my measurements, Sammy?" Samuel shook his head. "They're going to make a mannequin, my exact size, my exact build, and they're going to practice shooting it, so when they ambush me, they know exactly where to aim. Heart, head, lungs. They're going to use your information to kill me." Samuel's face went white. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. And you gave them my schedule, so they know exactly where I'll be and when." "Bumpy, please, I'll fix it. I'll tell you everything they asked. Bumpy stood up. "You sold me out for $500, my life, my safety, my trust, for $500. He walked toward the door, stopped, turned back. "How much did they pay you, Sammy?" "Total." $18,000 for my brother's debt, $500 for me." Bumpy nodded. $18,500. You know what's funny? If you'd come to me and told me your brother was in trouble, I would have loaned you $20,000. No interest, no questions, because you were family. Samuel was sobbing. "Bumpy, please, give me a chance. I'll make it right." Bumpy walked out. "You had 14 years of chances. You used them all." The door closed. 2 men stepped out of the shadows. Part 7, 4 hours, August 15th, 1957, 1:15 a.m. Samuel Berkowitz was driven to Pier 79 on the Hudson River. His hands were still tied. He was shaking, crying, begging, "Please, I have a wife, I have a daughter. Please." No one answered. At 2:23 a.m., a single gunshot echoed across the water. At 2:47 a.m., Samuel's body was weighted down with chains and dropped into the Hudson River. At 3:10 a.m., Bumpy's men removed the weights and let the body float. Bumpy wanted it found. He wanted the message delivered. At 6:47 a.m., fisherman Walter Green discovered the body, 4 hours and 24 minutes from betrayal to discovery. Part 8. The aftermath. Detective Frank Colombo investigated the murder for 6 weeks. He interviewed Samuel's wife, Miriam. She knew nothing. He interviewed Samuel's brother, David. David had mysteriously paid off his $18,000 debt the day before Samuel died, but David wouldn't say where the money came from. Colombo interviewed Tony Lombardo. Tony had an alibi. He was playing cards with 6 witnesses in Brooklyn from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Colombo interviewed Bumpy Johnson. Bumpy was calm, polite. "Sammy was my tailor for 14 years. I'm heartbroken. If you find who did this, let me know." The case went cold in October 1957. No arrests, no charges, no justice. But in Harlem, everyone knew what happened, and everyone understood the message. Bumpy Johnson's tailor sold him out for $500. 4 hours later, he was floating in the Hudson River. The lesson was clear: betray Bumpy Johnson, and you won't live long enough to spend the money. Epilogue. Miriam Berkowitz closed the tailor shop 3 weeks after Samuel's death. She moved to Philadelphia with their daughter. Bumpy sent her $2,000 and a note: "Your husband made a terrible mistake. You and your daughter didn't. This is for her education." Berkowitz fine tailoring remained empty for 2 years. In 1959, a barber shop moved in. By 1965, it was a record store. By 1972, it was abandoned. Tony Lombardo and the Gambino family never got to use Samuel's information. Bumpy changed his schedule immediately. The planned ambush never happened. By 1958, Bumpy had moved his operations to different locations, different times, different routines. Samuel Berkowitz died for $500 and information that became worthless 4 hours after he sold it. His name was rarely spoken in Harlem after that. When it was, people would shake their heads and say, "Sammy Stitches sold out Bumpy for $500. Didn't even make it to sunrise." Bumpy Johnson lived another 11 years. He died in 1968 at age 62. But the legend of Sammy Stitches lived forever. A warning, a lesson, a story told in barbershops, pool halls, and street corners across Harlem for decades. In Harlem, loyalty isn't just respected, it's required. And disloyalty gets you 4 hours, if you're lucky. This is Harlem. This is the code. This is the untold legend.